And for those of you who are missing Butter, here he is. I still love him. He's still here. He's just like a little grumpy old man. He just sleeps all the time. And he doesn't always come and bother me during filming. But he's here and we love him. And he's purring right now. Oh my gosh, he's such a good boy. Okay, he just want to be held. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. You have to listen to the kitties, you know? Oh, and here's Beetle. Hi, baby. He's just, Beetle is bonded with me. He wants to be on me all the time. He is imprinted on me. And Butter is very much Danny's cat. So he tolerates me, but he really prefers Danny. Oh, my baby. But we love him. So yeah, there's Butter. All right. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Jessica if you are. Today is my first update for my Pan Those Eyeshadows project for 2025. My first ever project here on YouTube, and it's always one of my favorites to update you on. This project was created by a YouTuber named Alexi many years ago, but it has really taken off in the panning community, and a lot of different panners do it in their own particular way. My style of Pan Those Eyeshadows, this year at least, is I am working on 4 eyeshadows at a time, ultimately with the goal of hitting pan on those eyeshadows. But if I use them at least 30 times over a course of at least 3 months, and I still have yet to hit a pan on that eyeshadow, I typically allow myself to roll that shade out and bring in something new, unless I happen to be so close on that shade that I just want to give it a little bit more effort to hit that pan. This year I am also rolling in 1 additional shadow to work on, so 5 total. But this additional shadow is going to be an expand that pan goal for that 1 eyeshadow. So it's an eyeshadow that already has a pan on it, and I'm trying to use it at least 5 times during the course of each month to expand that pan just a little bit. And I forgot to give credit to the creator of Expand That Pan last month, so my apologies. Expand That Pan was started by Dora from Fuschia Soul here on YouTube, so definitely check her out. She's a great panner on the YouTube platform, and what a great idea to focus on eyeshadow pans that otherwise are neglected in other projects, and to get more use on them and expand them. So I'm excited to incorporate that into my project this year. Lastly, as far as my 4 eyeshadows go, 2 of those eyeshadows are randomly generated using a app that helps me to select a palette and then a shade from that palette, but 2 of the shades are selected using Lainey's prompts from Makeup with Lainey, and that allows me to have a little bit more control over some of the eyeshadows that are coming into my project each month, so that's really fun too. Well, that's I think all I have to say as far as my intro goes, so let's get right on into this update. But before we do, if you are new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to have you stick around, and if you're returning, hi, welcome back. So happy to have you here. Don't forget to give this video a quick thumbs up before you forget, and leave a comment down below at any point. I love hearing from you. Let's jump right on in. Being the first introduction, of course, all of these shadows have just been in this project for 1 month so far, and let's start off with that first palette that I rolled in, which is from my ABH, the Sultry palette, and I have been working on the shade in here called Steampunk. Steampunk is a very beautiful gold shade. I actually have it as my main shade all over my lid today, especially on the outer half of my lid, and it is such a beautiful gold, very easy to wear. There's Steampunk in the swatch, and for a gold, it actually is not too yellow and bright and quite wearable, especially if you want to sheer it out. Here's what Steampunk was looking like last month when I first brought it into the project. During the past month, I reached for it 7 times, including my look that I created today, and here's what Steampunk is looking like after those 7 uses. And I hope you'll see a slight dip starting to form in Steampunk, but nothing too major yet. I think I should be able to hit pan on this one by the next update if I really focus in on it. If I get like maybe 10 or 11 more uses on it, that should get me to pan, but it also could take a little bit longer than I even anticipate. I don't like to overdo it when I reach for this shade, so it might just take me a little bit longer than it does for other ABH shimmer shades, but I absolutely think I should be able to hit pan on this shade within those 3 months. Hopefully by next month that would be great, but it might just take me a little bit longer. We shall see, but that is the first shade, and it is staying in. The next shade that was randomly selected for this project is one of my ColourPop Super Shock shadows, and I randomly selected the shade 10 out of 10. There was only, I think, 2 Super Shock shadows in my collection that didn't have a pan on them, and one of them was already in another project, so this one really wasn't random, but it was the only one to bring in. So this is a beautiful silver shade. I absolutely love this shade. Also one of the newer shades of this formula in my collection. There is 10 out of 10 in the swatch. It is such a gorgeous silver shade. I absolutely love wearing silvers like this, especially in the winter, and I've been having a lot of fun with this, but not as much fun as I had hoped. Here's what 10 out of 10 was looking like when I first brought it into the project. It already had a good amount of use on it, but definitely not a dip. I reached for it 3 times during the past month, and here is what 10 out of 10 is looking like today. And I'm hoping you'll see a little bit more wear in the surface of this pan and maybe a slight dip starting to form, but I still have a ways to go on this one, and I'm hoping to reach for this a few more times in the next month, definitely more than 3, and hopefully have a pan on it soon. Maybe not by the next update, but definitely in the next 2 months. I plan to meet that goal of hitting pan. But in the meantime, I'm absolutely loving having this eyeshadow shade around and reaching for it, and I've created some really fun looks with it that I will be sharing with you later on in this video, so definitely stay tuned for that. Now we have the 2 shades that I brought in using Lainey's prompt, and the first one comes from the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette, and I decided to select the shade Precious. And I believe the prompt for this was a shade from your favorite palette. This is definitely one of my favorite palettes, but I just decided to randomly generate a shade from this palette from there. So the shade I selected is kind of a randomized shade in that way. Here's Precious in the swatch. It's like a really deep, almost like mauve-y, gray, taupey shade. A really beautiful matte, a nice deepening shade, and I've had a lot of fun playing with this shade in my cool tone looks that I've created during the past month. There it is a little bit closer up, and it looks even deeper in the swatch than it does on the eye. But it's been a really nice shade to play with, and it's paired well with the other shimmers that I've been working on over the past month. Here's what Precious was looking like when I first brought this into the project. It had maybe a slight little disturbance on the surface of the pan, but not much use to show on it. I reached for it 9 times during the past month, and here's what it's looking like today after those 9 uses. And you can definitely see a slight dip starting to form in that shade, but not much of a deep one at all. These shades are notoriously difficult for me to hit pan on. I have 2 pans on this palette already, and only one of them is in a matte. It's in Cherished here, which was a much easier shade for me to use, being such a light shade. I could use a lot more of that shade when reaching for it. But Radiate down here on this lower corner, I reached for that one 30 times, maybe even more than 30 times in Pan Those Eyeshadows last year, and you can hardly even tell I touched it. So I'm hoping that won't be the case for Precious. Because it is a deeper shade, I'm using more pinpointed, targeted brushes in there, which are hopefully going to make that pan deepen up a little bit more quickly. But I don't know or hope if I'll be able to hit pan on this shade after 30 uses. 9 uses is pretty good for me in 1 month. If I don't hope to hit pan on a shade, I try and hit at least 10 uses per month so I can get it rolled out in that 3-month time span. But we'll see what happens with this one. I'm definitely going to be reaching for it as much as I can in the next month, and hopefully have a bigger dip for you by the next update. But I definitely think that this will be one that I use 30 times over 3 months and still have not hit a pan on. But we shall see. I will do my best, and in the meantime, I'm just loving having this palette out. I have reached into a few of these other shades as well, having a lot of fun with these duochromes in here, and I just absolutely love having this palette around, and that's why I chose it for this prompt. So really excited to have it out, and it's going to be staying in, and I'm happy about that too. And the 4th shade that I'm trying to hit pan on comes from my Jewels and Gem palette from Odin's Eye Cosmetics, and this one was for the prompt an eyeshadow for your fantasy self or something of that nature. And when I thought of my fantasy self, I thought about this palette because it is just so fantastical and whimsical, and that is how my fantasy self pictures herself. So I decided, of course, to reach for one of the duochromes in here, and that shade is called Rhapsody. I do have Rhapsody on my eyelids today. It is what is on the inner half of my eyelid, kind of mixed in with steampunk, and the duochrome is very subtle, especially when paired with more neutral colors like I have it right now. But I think it's a really pretty shade, and while it is fantastical, it's still wearable enough for a work day, and I'm really happy with myself for choosing that one. One that I could use every day, but still adds a little bit of something special to a regular eye look. And there is the swatch of Rhapsody right there in the middle. You can see it's kind of like a brown with like a greenish shift, and really sparkly, really pretty, and quite wearable as well. Here's what Rhapsody was looking like when I first brought it into the project. I had used it a couple times, but there wasn't any dip showing in that shade. In the past month, I reached for it 9 times, and here's what it's looking like today after those 9 uses. And while I think you will be able to see a slight dip starting to form in this shade, I know for a fact that I have a ways to go on this one before I get close to pan or before I hit pan, but you can see it's starting to go down just a little bit. I've been reaching for this shade with my finger as well as a brush, and a little bit really goes a long way. So I just don't need a lot of this product to get the effect that I want, and for that reason it's just gonna take some time for me to get there, but I do hope to hit pan on this one. It just will probably take me close to 30 uses before that actually happens. I have one other pan in this palette, and that is in Elatedness, and you can see from Elatedness that these pans are actually quite deep. So it's gonna take me an effort to hit pan on Rhapsody, but again, what a fun palette to have out and around and to reach for, and I'm absolutely loving it, and I do not mind it sticking around for a little bit of time. So that one as well is staying in. So those are my 4 main shades. I have not hit a pan this month, which is to be expected being just the first month of this project, but we are rolling a shade out because I did hit my goal on the shade that I'm trying to expand, which comes from my Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette, and I randomly generated from this palette the shade Halafa Adala, one of the 4 pans or 5 pans that I have in this palette already. This palette smells so good still. So here is a swatch of Halafa Adala. It is a very like blackish gold shade, and it's so beautiful. I really love reaching for this shade just because it's not something that I would typically reach for. I remember how much I love wearing dark smoky shimmers like this. It really adds a lot of drama to a look and makes a nice, you know, beautiful effect, especially when you are going for something like that. There it is in the swatch. It's basically a gold shade with a black base, and I used it as a liner, but I also used it as a deepening shade in the outer corner of my crease, and really enjoyed pairing it with the other shimmers and mattes in this palette for the last month. This was the pan I was trying to expand for the month, so my goal was just to use it 5 times and see what I could do with it in those 5 uses, and any usage over that is just a little gravy on top. So here is what Halafa Adala was looking like when I first brought it into the project last month. It had a little baby pan on there, and I did reach for it exactly 5 times. I would have liked to reach for it a little bit more, but I was happy with 5, and here's what it's looking like today after those 5 uses. So it's still a pretty small pan, but I'm hoping it's a little bit bigger from last month to this month, as that was my goal. And since I hit my 5 use goal on this palette and hopefully expanded that pan just ever so slightly, this shade will be rolling out. And that is hopefully going to happen with each and every expand that pan shade for this project. I don't want these to hang around too long, but I just want them to get a little bit of attention for the year and then move on and work on other things in this project. So that is the first shade rolling out. So that means I will be just rolling in 1 new shade this update, and it will be a new shade that already has a pan on it for me to try and reach for 5 times and expand that pan on. But before I move on and do the most exciting part of this video, let's talk about my pan percentage. So although I didn't hit a new pan in this project, this is the video where I update my pan percentage from all my other projects. I have a goal this year of hitting 25% in my pan percentage. Of my complete eyeshadow collection, I have 448 total shades of eyeshadows, individual shades of eyeshadows, and last month of those 448 I had pan on 85 of them. So my pan percentage at the beginning of this year was 18.97%. In the past month I did hit 1 additional pan. It was in my Pan That palette for this year, so I will go ahead and link that video up here in the cards. If you have not seen it, you can see my new pan in that video, which brings my new pan count up to 86 out of my 448 eyeshadow shades, which brings my new pan percentage up to 19.2%. So I'm happy I was able to jump up just a little bit, and I am hopeful to reach 25% this year. I know that's going to be a difficult goal, but I really do believe I should be able to reach for it if I just stay consistent in all of my projects. I also have some eyeshadow looks that I would like to share with you from the past month that I created using my Pan Those Eyeshadows shades. So this first one is a pink inspired look. This was for a Wicked hangout party, a Wicked watch party, and I was channeling my inner Galinda here, as you can tell, and I used lots of pink shimmer shades in here, but the shade that I used for my Pan Those Eyeshadows project in this look is 10 out of 10. That silver shade, that's what's dominating the inner part of my lid there, and I did cover it with some other glitters, so it's not glaringly silver, but I did definitely use the silver in this look. It just is not super obvious because I did pair it with all of those pinks. But I thought it was a really pretty and fun look, and this picture was taken at the end of the night when I had lots of glitter fallout, so it's not the best picture, but I wanted to document it for you anyways. This is another look where I really highlighted that silver shade 10 out of 10. I used that as my main shade all over my lid. The shade all through my crease is Precious. I really used that to deepen up my outer corner and throughout my crease, and then I did top that silver shade with Rhapsody to give it that duochrome effect. And I thought this was a really pretty cool tone look and enjoyed that one. This is another look where I used 10 out of 10 all over the eyelid and then really smoked it out with Precious. And I believe I also have Halafa Dala in this look in the outer part of my lid. And I really liked this look. I thought it was very subtle, but still used a lot of pretty shimmers in this look without it being like really over the top, in my opinion. I guess I do wear like some pretty outlandish makeup sometimes, but for me, it was pretty subtle, in my opinion. All right, here is another look where I have Rhapsody all over the lid. I think Rhapsody is just so pretty. It adds so much dimension and shimmer to a look. This probably has Precious in the crease and lots of other neutrals in the crease as well from my Pan That palette. I really like that look. I thought it was really pretty. This is a look that I wore to a Galentine's get together with my girlfriends, and this has Precious heavily in the crease and outer corner, and then I topped that with, gosh, I think like some purples and shimmers and other things. I don't even remember what I used, some pinks, but Precious is definitely in that look, and I really liked kind of like the purple, taupey, pink blend of this eyeshadow look. This was one I wore out just to go thrifting with a girlfriend. I decided to use Precious through the crease. I have 10 out of 10 on the lid, I believe. And then I used a blue liner. So maybe I used 10 out of 10 4 times, if I am remembering correctly. But I thought it was really pretty. I topped it with glitter, and it was just like a fun look to wear on a day out with my girlfriend. This look I wore to Disneyland, and there's a lot of pink happening here. I'm not sure what shade is from my Pan Those Eyeshadows, but I just wanted to share this look anyways, just because it's fun and pretty, and I have gems and glitter on my face, which is perfect for a Disney day. And here is another example of a look I wore to Disneyland. Just a little bit less pink, a little bit less sparkly. This was my subtle makeup look for the trip. If you can believe it. And then this last makeup look I wore to work yesterday. This is very similar to the look I'm wearing on my eyes today. I have Steampunk on the outer part of the lid. I have Rhapsody on the inner part of the lid. And I have lots of warms, browns, and pinks in my crease. And I think it's really pretty and very wearable for work, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So those are all my eyeshadow looks that I documented this month. Let me know your favorite down below in the comments. And if you have any ideas for what I should do next month, definitely let me know. I love getting inspiration from my viewers. So now we have come to the best part of this video, the part you've all been waiting for. We're going to randomly select a new eyeshadow. Well, actually, it's going to be an old eyeshadow to expand pan on. Okay, let's do it. So here are all of my eyeshadow palettes. In this wheel, I have blacked out a few that are already in this project, including the ABH Sultry, the Odin's Eye Jewels and Gem, and the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. But I'm going to leave the chocolate gold on there because there are other shades in that palette that I could focus on. And if that's what the painting gods want to bring into my project, so be it. So let's see what pan, or what palette I'm going to work on to expand the pan on. Okay, the ColourPop Rumor Has It palette, which I believe is a blue palette. Or is it a green palette? It's a blue palette. Oh goodness. Here we go. Let's see what pans I have on the Rumor Has It palette. Here is the Rumor Has It palette, and I have 2 pans on this palette as of today. So I have a pan on this first shade, Do Tell, and I have a pan on this middle shade, Page 6. So I'm gonna put the numbers 1 or 2 into my random number generator, and we'll see which one of these I'm gonna work on. Either one would be fine, really. I don't think it would be too difficult to work on either of those. And I only have to use them 5 times, so how hard can that be? All right, so here are the numbers 1 and 2, and let's just see. It's gonna be either 1 or 2. 1 or 2, 1 or 2, 1 or 2, 1 or 1. It's number 1, which is that first shade, Do Tell, which is like a really pretty light blue shade. That will be pretty for the silver shade to pair with. I think it'll pair very well with Rhapsody. It'll just be fun to play with. It can go as a lower lash line shade. It can go into my crease. So there it is right there in the swatch. It is very bright, very blue. It might be kind of difficult for the winter, but we're gonna do our best with it. So if I cover up this shade here, you can see my new color palette. I've got those 2 mattes and 3 shimmers, and this is gonna be fun to play with. It's always fun to push my creativity, and projects like this and shades like this are what I love about this project. So excited to reach for that one. I think 5 uses will not be too difficult for me to do, and I should have a bigger pan on that shade for you by the next update, and hopefully some new pans in these other shades as well. So that's it. That's all for my Pan Those Eyeshadows update this month. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to let me know somehow, some way, in the comments, in a thumbs up, whatever feels good for you. I appreciate it all so much, but I appreciate you also so much just for being here and watching this video all the way to the end. You are a real one. I'm sending my love out to you wherever you are in the world that this video finds you, and I hope you're doing well, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. But until then, take care.